Hey, how you guys doing? I hope you're staying safe out there. Here's another one of the lesson videos. First off, just want to let you guys know, please, please, please watch the video. I'm going to break everything down for you. I promise, okay? Because I've had a lot of people saying, I don't know what to do. If you watch the video, it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do for each of these examples, okay? As well as on this video, once again, I tell you exactly how to log on to Tone Savvy, so that way you don't have any issues, okay? So please, before you email me or send me a message telling me I don't know what to do, make sure you watch the video. Watch this video first. And then if you still have any issues, please feel free to give me a call or feel free to send me a message on Hangout or feel free to send me an email or a private message on Google Classroom, okay? With that said, let's get started. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, so the goals for today's lesson will be we're going to review the concepts of intervals quickly. We're going to review the concept of scales. We're going to review the major scale pattern, and then we're going to introduce the minor scale pattern today. Okay. Now, once again, going into intervals, remember, intervals are the space between two pitches, okay? So here are the intervals that are mostly used in music. Now, these are different, and then in the next lesson, when we get back to intervals, most of these intervals have at least two different types, okay? The only one that doesn't have two types is the unison or the octave. But from second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, they all have different types of intervals. Like, for example, the second, we talked about that in scales. As we get closer, you'll find out that there are two types of seconds, okay? But this is what they look like. Remember, if it's an odd number, they're going to all either be line, line, or space, space. Line, 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 line. If it's an even number, it's always going to alternate line, space, or space, line. Line, space, line, space, line, space. Always like that, okay? Make sure you remember that. Okay, remember, a scale is any set of musical notes ordered by fundamental frequency or pitch. Scale is ordered by increasing pitch. A scale is ordered by increasing the pitch is an ascending scale, and a scale ordered by decreasing pitch is a descending scale. Okay, so mostly, like if it's going up, they're going to call it an ascending scale, or they're going down, it's calling descending. We all know ascending means up, descending means down. Okay, now C major scale. Remember these terms: tonic. Move that out the way real quick. Okay, tonic, supertonic, mediant. Here's that slide again. Subdominant, dominant, submediate, leading tone, and then back to tonic. Remember, there are two types of scales that are mostly used. Trust me, as I said before, there are plenty of different scales. But in the music that we mostly listen to, there are only going to be two types that we focus on: major scales and minor scales. Okay, and the scale is going to determine how your song will sound like. So here's an example of a major scale. Awesome. And here is an example of a minor scale. Do you hear how they sound different? You hear how one sounds happier, one sounds lighter? That is the main component to determine between both of these scales, okay? Now remember, to construct a major scale, we're going to use minor seconds and major seconds. Remember, second is line, then up space. So if we were right here, this would be the one, and then you would go right up for a second to that F, E to F. Okay. The two types that we use are minor second and major second, also called half step and whole step. Remember, when we're talking whole step, you are skipping a note and going to the next note. you're skipping a note and going to the next note. For a whole step, for a half step, you go to the note that is absolutely right next to it. Okay, so for example, from E to F, there we do not have a black key here. So they are absolutely right next to each other, which makes it a half step. If we were doing another scale, let's say we were doing G, and we're going, and the last one is a half step to G, right? So a half step would be this black note to this G, okay? Because we can't skip this one. So if you're talking whole step, you always skip one key and go to the next. If you're talking half step, you're always going directly to the next key. Okay, now getting into minor scales, okay? Now, minor scales are important because it definitely gives your song a different type of tone. But as well as when we start really talking about chords and chord construction, it's important to know which of your chords are going to be major, which of your chords are going to be minor. So it's good to understand how minor works. So minor scales also use minor seconds and major seconds, or half steps and whole steps, but we have a completely different pattern to make it a minor scale. Now, I'm going to attach a video to this lesson as well as to your assignments on minor scale construction. There are 3 types of minor scales, okay? You don't need to worry. The only one we're going to focus on is what we call natural minor. But just for your information, if you want to know, we have something that's also called harmonic minor and melodic minor. Do not worry about those two at this moment. We're only going to focus on natural minor. So here's the natural minor pattern. You have whole step. Now, when we were doing major, it was whole step, then half step. For this one, it's whole step, then half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. And that will make the minor pattern. Okay, so if you looked on here, you got C to D, which is the whole step. Now, if we go to a half step, D is right next to the E flat. Okay, and then for the whole step, we have to skip a note. So we have to skip this E and go right to the F. Okay, whole step, F to G, half step, G to A flat, because those are right next to each other. Remember, half step. Whole step, we skip this key and go to the B flat. And then whole step, one more time, we skip this B and go right back to the C. Minor scale construction. Okay, now real quick, let me explain what some of these symbols are, because I know some of you are like, okay, what is this? Now, these 2 symbols are basically the black keys. Okay, now it's funny because on black keys, they are both either a flat or a sharp. They are both. It just depends on the scale and also the way you're going. So if you're going higher, then you're going to look at a sharp. It raises the current pitch by a half step. So if we go back, well, I don't know if I can go back. Let me see. Yes, I can go back. Awesome. So for example, if we're going up, then this F now becomes F sharp. If we're going up, let's start on here. If we're going up, this C becomes C sharp. Now for flats, which we have here, we go down a half step. So this B now becomes B flat. This A becomes A flat, and this E becomes E flat. All right. Now, I'm not going to get into the different types of when you use it. Yes, when you use a flat, when you use a sharp, it really all depends on the scale that you're using. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay. Now, the last one is a natural. Okay. Now, a natural will only occur if you're using a flat or a sharp normally. So what the natural does is says, okay, I don't want the flat or the sharp. I want the regular note. So you put the natural next to it and it cancels out any sharp or flat and returns the pitch to normal. Okay, real quick brief overview on sharps, flats, and naturals. Okay, so here is the difference between C major and C minor. So I put both of them, on top of each other so you guys can see how they are constructed, okay? Okay, so once again, we're back in the sign in. Please pay attention because I still have a lot of you who do not have your login or having trouble with your login. Please, please, please check your private messages for your login if you still do not have it. If you don't, go ahead and email me. But this is how you log in. You take the information that I'm giving you, you put your username that I created, the password that was created for you, and you put this teacher code in. Okay, this will take you to my classroom. Then you hit login. And this is what you're going to see here. Now, I added some assignments. You do not have to do all these assignments. In fact, these are future assignments for later. So please don't worry about it. I'm going to show you exactly which one you need to do. Once again, we go to view. And okay, one we're going to do today based off of this lesson is minor scale building level 1. Now, I leveled all of these up because as you do more of these, I want you to become more and more comfortable with building scales, building chords, and building intervals. So we'll get more into that later. So we're going to go to minor scale building level 1. So you hit do it now. Okay. And then this is what you're going to see. And I put this here to help you. These are the scales that you are going to go over. All right. So during this, I'm going to help you with some of these scales so you know exactly what to do. Okay. Now, one of the problems that I know some of you have is like, Mr. Stokes, we keep doing it over and over and over again. When do I know I'm done? Well, I went ahead and I fixed that for all of your assignments. Now, once you've reached the max amount, you completed 10, you're done. Okay. And it'll stop it from there. So everything looks good. We're going to hit start quiz. It gives you the note. Okay. Now, the great thing about A minor is this no sharps, no flats. So you go from A to B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now, what you guys just saw before that, that was called a ledger line. Most of your notes are not always going to fit on the actual staff. Staff always says 4 lines, 5 spaces. I said that wrong. Don't tell anybody, please. It's 5 lines, 4 spaces. So when you run out of room or it gets too high or too low, then you've got these little, we call ledger lines, which signifies that if the staff was to go on, this would be on a line. Okay. So now we got C natural minor. We're going to start with C, D. Now, remember, half step. This is going to be E flat. So if you need a flat, you click over to where the flat is, and then you go back to on the line, put that there, then you go back, F, G, then we go back, A flat, B flat, and with C. Okay? And it goes back to A minor. So this is what I suggest that you guys do because I didn't do all of them. I only included scales that you guys are familiar with, that we've done major. We've done C major, we've done G major, we've done F major. Okay, so with those, what I want you guys to do is I have a little piano guide that I want you guys to use. I'm going to show you in just 1 second. Okay. All right. So on this lesson, I have attached this piano keys and notes guidelines for you guys to help you with your scales. So the one thing I would like you guys to try to do is when you get to a scale, use this to figure out the pattern. If you remember, the pattern is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. It should be that, okay? If you can remember that, then you can start on the note that whatever scale it is, you can start on that note and you can figure it out. So let's figure out if you see E. So E would be E to F sharp is a whole step. Half step would be down to G, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. That is your E minor scale. Okay, so use this as your guide as you are doing your different scales. Okay, all right.